Hello, everyone. My name is Shane A. Bassett, the movie analyst, and I'm here today with a special guest, Orson. Maybe named after Orson Welles. I'm not sure because he is the director, but Orson Oblowitz. Pleased to meet you, mate.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're here to talk about Showdown at the Grand. I mean, it's all set in cinema. You have movie references. Obviously, you absolutely grew up watching movies like me.
Absolutely. I mean, since I was a kid, it's kind of been the place I've gone to. You
Yeah,
know, like it's just like I would say most of my life I've watched 2 to 3 movies a day.
yeah. Well, we're in the same boat. Now I get paid to watch them, and it's like a dream job for me.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm jealous. I wish someone paid me to watch them.
Well, you're
They don't even
making
pay
them.
me to make them.
Yeah, you're making them. Yeah, even Terrence Howard, one of your leads in this film, says that the cinema is like a church, and I agree.
Me too. I mean, it has a lot of the same kind of even like architectural landscape as a church, like you have the
Yeah,
vestibule in front of you and the arc almost like, and then we all are in our pews in this kind of meditative silence.
yeah. And well, speaking of which, I like to ask directors if you'd made a cameo, but you did make a cameo. And speaking of churches, alongside some nuns, so that's appropriate.
Yeah, I love a good, and those nuns are the daughter-in-law and grandchild of Robert Altman.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I saw the
yeah,
Altman family in the credits, so that's who they are.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So many links in this movie. As I mentioned in the opening, are you named after Orson Welles, or is that just a lucky
I
thing?
am. I am. My parents are
Oh,
from South Africa, and so films were, for the most part, banned there, and
right.
TV because it was a apartheid fascist state. And they would, and one of the first films my mom saw that was snuck in was Citizen Kane. So she just named me Orson. They just always loved film. It was a big part of their kind of rebellious upbringing. So
You were destined to become a director.
yeah, destined to be poor
Oh, you'll get there, I'm sure.
and stressed out.
Well, you look like you're holding yourself pretty well together in what I can see. How many shooting days did this film
18,
take?
18 days.
18. And then like the editing process was quite a lot after that, or did you get it all in the can in a certain amount of time?
We did one day of pickups, like a half day. We just were kind of like, so the budget was so stretched.
Yep.
We edited for about 4 months, and then I kept tinkering with it up until the day it was delivered.
With a movie with such a low budget and you can get so much out of it as you did, are there any concerns that you're just going a little bit too high or too much for what you can afford?
Oh, all the time. I mean, you're starting to kind of like have to make a lot of sacrifices,
Yeah.
and there's only so much, kind of surgical scalping you can do of a movie until it's almost, you're losing the core of it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that was kind of something I knew. This was the biggest budget I ever had because I came from doing really small films. So I still think I had a kind of grasp on what I needed, but definitely if you were to read the first iteration of the script and what was made, there was a lot that changed.
Okay. How much? Like, did you have extra scenes filmed, or did you just have to cut them for budget purposes?
Everything we filmed is in the movie for the most part, besides maybe a few snippets here and there. I mean, we kind of left each day with what we had because it was also COVID. So it's like you had the
Right.
COVID oversight, which lost you a few hours of your day and
Yep.
took away a lot of your budget. That would kind of be, we could have had probably like, 2 or 3 extra days of filming if we hadn't had COVID
Yeah.
protocol. And yeah, so there was a lot. There's a few scenes, the bigger kind of set pieces that took place. This one scene at the train tracks,
Okay.
which was a pipe dream from the beginning, but yeah, that was the first one to go.
I'll get to the movie in a second, but behind the scenes, you in situations like that, you're filming during COVID, you've got like pressured for time. You must have had an awesome crew that you gathered and had everyone had their backs. Obviously, that was the
Oh
case.
yeah, they were a gangster crew of people that were just like, that's why I put them in the end credits.
I
You know,
noticed. Yeah.
yeah, because it was like they just were like going hard, not getting paid much, working long hours. It was a long drive, and everyone just kind of like banded together. And honestly, we were losing crew members by the day, and those ones that went, like, that's fine. We were just, but we were really lucky to have the ones we did that stuck to it and just,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
the opening credits, you know what you're going to get from the start. It's a movie within a movie, and you know that's going to capture people's imagination straight away, and it continues like that. That was great. That was a great design. All the credits, beginning and end.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think like, Last Action Hero and Matinee and these type of movies, kind of were big parts of my childhood. And I think it was kind of like an ode to those kind of meta action comedy, or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
film. So yeah, it was actually, I think it's, the difference is like when you're watching Last Action Hero, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger in, a couple $1 million just for the opening scene
Oh,
up
I
on the
know.
roof and stuff. So it's like, it's different here. We were like, are we going to be able to grab people's attention by this kind of misdirect?
It's funny you mentioned Last Action Hero. I saw that when it was released in the cinema, and it was a big flop, but it's since regained its status of being an actual really good film. And I agree, especially for movie people like ourselves.
I mean, repertory cinema is kind of like, obviously that's what this film is a ode to. And
Mm.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately because, like, I'm pretty sure I think we're going to suffer a similar fate with this film, which I'm okay with. Like, because most of the films that have lived on, that, we have a few places here, kind of repertory cinemas, and the films they play were not hits when they came out for the most part,
Right.
like, but for some reason they stay in the fabric of pop culture 20 years later, 30 years later. And Last Action Hero, again, like a flop, yeah, but it's become a part of the fabric of pop culture.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. A whole ton of movies have. And here in Sydney, where I'm talking to you from, there's a few retro theaters around that, or they'll have special nights or weeks or presentations. But you guys in LA, every night you could go to something from the 80s or the 70s or whatever, the 90s.
Yeah, it's a part of our culture. But I mean, you and I were talking a little beforehand, but like the cinema of Australia is very, I mean,
Yeah,
you
unique.
unique, and a lot of those films from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s have become kind of part of that lexicon of repertory cinema, and coming back around.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've gotten there. I'll talk about your movie, I promise, in more detail. But you want to talk about some exploitation movies? They're very big here. They're cult status. What are some of the ones that you remember or you can recommend? Because
Wake
I've
and
seen
Fright.
them all.
Yeah, Wake and Fright.
Ah, yes, of
I
course.
love that. Obviously all the Mad Maxes.
Yep,
Um, some that are a little more road games.
yep.
Uh, the Year That My Voice Broke, which is a little later on,
Oh,
but
great film, Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah,
by Mendelsohn, and what's his name? Noah, was it
Noah
Noah?
Taylor.
Noah Taylor. I mean, just a beautiful movie. And then a Metal Skin with
Yes,
Ben
yeah, that
Mendelsohn
was
as well.
Jeffrey Wright's follow-up from Romper Stomper.
Yep, Romper Stomper. And then what was another really good? Oh, Ghosts of the Civil Dead by John Hillcoat.
Yeah, Nick Cave. That's right.
Yeah. Those, I mean, these are the films that, like, I used to, I watched. There's a whole. I mean, I'm sure I could keep go. If I'm just, those are off the top of my head,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of ones. But that kind of, like, mixture of sci-fi or dystopian with this kind of heavy drama, in those worlds.
oh yeah.
That they,
And I love how they brought them back in DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K can do that, and let's hope physical media never dies. I know that Showdown in the Grand is coming out on Blu-ray, I believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big physical media person. I believe we're seeing more than ever that with these streamers that we have to kind of protect, because then what we're going to start getting is we're going to start losing
Yeah.
what we're talking about now, which is that second run, or that run 20 years later. Like,
Yeah.
these are paintings, these are moving paintings, and they should be treated as such.
Yeah, no, I totally. If you and I were sitting down having a beer together, I'm sure we would not shut up.
No, I love it. It's my favorite thing. These conversations I live for. Like, my half of my family's in Sydney. It could happen.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, I'll show you around. I'll be chaperone for a while.
I'd love that.
The cinema itself, the Warner Grand, I'm guessing it's a real theater that you might have hired out, or is it a functioning theater?
Yeah, it's actually run by the city, because it's in San Pedro. It's the Warner Grand,
Right.
and it's actually the city took it over because a similar situation as the movie. It kept being passed down from one person to another and it was actually an uncommon move by any American government or state government, which is the city took it over and deemed it a historical place. Normally we just knock them down and turn them into fucking Walmarts, but so it's still going. It's not going anywhere. They're about to do a big remodel. They're awesome. It's like, it feels like home, that place.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad. You could tell how authentic it was, and it let your imagination run free with all the props and the set decoration. First, I'll ask about the posters of the fake movies. I mean, that would have taken a lot of thinking time, or did you collaborate with other people on those?
I mean, they were always part of the texture of the movie, like the mise en scene, but my production designer, Doc, like, he only had a few weeks prep because we moved locations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they kind of happened fast, and I'm really proud of them, because I collect movie posters. I have for years. So I think they're awesome, and I'm happy. Some of them were stuff he even had done beforehand. Like, there's one for a blaxploitation film that was actually from a previous design of his. So
okay,
that's the thing about movies, is like, you have these ideas, but like, there's people that know and can execute it in a way that makes it doable.
Totally. And the story revolves around not a has-been, but a very big former sort of action star who's maybe not towards the end of his career, but fallen on harder times, and he's been brought back, obviously, to a loving fan base, and then it all goes down in the cinema, and he protects everyone, and it's just a great action film and a lot of fun. But is it based on anyone, the Dolph Lundgren character, or did you
Based
just
on him?
write it based on him?
It's him. Yeah, I mean, that was originally the archetype. Like, I kind of always wanted it to be him, and he's
that's great
in it. I mean, I don't know. I only wish there was more of him in the film. But it's but yeah, I mean, we've had that history. Especially now, while the 90s action heroes are old, right? Like Sly, Arnold, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Chuck Norris, like these kind of canon film Carolco heroes are at the end of their lives. So he was one that I was a big fan of Dolph growing up. So I kind of wrote it for him.
Well, that's great. You got the star you wrote it for. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I don't know. There's a film he made about 10 years ago, Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning, which I don't think is John Hyams Australian. I don't think he is. I don't think is Peter Hyams Australian. I don't think he is.
No, I don't think so.
No, he's not. But John Hyams directed it, Peter Hyams' son, and it's a great movie. It was originally made for 3D. Have you seen it?
I've seen all those Universal Soldier films, but like quite not recently. Yeah.
Yeah, Day of Reckoning is like, it's with him, Scott Adkins, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it's an awesome movie. It's like a Nicholas Refn film wrapped up in a 3D remake of Universal Soldier.
I think I need to.
That's what sold me on it.
Yeah, well, Scott Adkins too. He can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. So I need to rewatch that. Obviously,
his performance in John Wick is so good. Him and Donnie Yen, like they should be part of the Academy Awards race. Like, what's going on here?
If I was voting, John Wick 4 would, well, it still is. It's going to be in my top 5 movies of the year. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'll get overlooked, unfortunately. But I hope not, because it's a near perfect film.
I agree, and that kind of is what this film is about. Like I feel like I'm the poor man's version, but what he was doing in John Wick was, if you'd watch interviews with the filmmaker, and he's talking about Wong Kar-wai, he's talking about Johnny To, he's talking about John Woo. Like these aren't lost on and that's Donnie Yen pulls off a performance that to me like is as good as anything that's come out. And if acting is more than just like dramatic porn, then he's done his job to the nines, to be blind, to do the action, to do the choreography, to do the emotional beats, so that's just my spiel.
It goes beyond, and it shows.
I agree. And it's nice to hear that, because I know people loved it for its kind of like craziness, but sometimes I don't think people were like, this is a really good piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, it's another artwork, actually. A violent one, but a good one. Really lovely to look at. I
agree. And in the step pieces, like, again, that goes back to like, these movies within the movies that are in Showdown. They're an homage to those films, the same, the Hard Boiled and The Killer and all those movies that like I wish I had the time and money to make those set pieces. Obviously, like the scene where the popcorn's flying and they're shooting is, the glass and the killer shootout in the restaurant, the dim sum restaurant.
Oh yeah, who can forget that? I mean, that is, you're bringing up some really great memories here. Was there? I guess there would have been a lot of popcorn cleanup around that concession stand every day.
Yeah, but we did that whole scene in half a day. I mean, the whole scene, not just the shooting. I mean, from them coming up the stairs to the end of it, of the shooting the Skittles, all in half, in 4 hours.
Fun fact, in Australia, we don't call it a concession stand. It's called the candy bar, which we don't even call candy here. It's lollies. So it really should be the lolly bar. But if you go to the movies in Sydney, any cinema, any theater, it's the candy bar.
That's amazing. I like that name. I'm trying to go to the candy bar.
I've got to know where you found Spike. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw Piper. I remember her from American Pie, but this was a really good. I think she needs her own role, her own spin-off movie, maybe a short film.
Yeah, we found her. It was just through my producer's connections. We actually didn't have anyone for the role. And then it was written, kind of as like for a man. And then actually it was Clemmie's idea to make it to be like, you should make this character a woman.
Yeah.
And so then we switched it, and she came on like a week beforehand. Like there wasn't even any. It was just like, I mean, there was no casting a director on this movie. It was all just my producer and I calling people and being like, who do you have?
Well, it worked because Piper's great. I really think she stood out. So I'll thank Clemmie later.
No, that's awesome. And the name was based off of it was from Cowboy Bebop. Margarita. Sorry, my talk. From Cowboy Bebop. From the anime. So
yeah. So you've even got anime in the mix. That's pretty amazing, Orson.
Yeah, I love anime. I'm a big fan of it. I mean, I kind of see the film as an anime.
Now, in the end credits, I know you thank directors and you sort of like with the quotes and that. I'm not sure. Is there any rules or royalties that you have to pay for using so many movie quotes?
I mean, no, because they're actual in quotations.
Right. So you don't have to get any of that approved or copyrighted or anything. Because even I know John Savage is in the movie, but then the Apocalypse Now one was really effective. And it's said twice. And then, of course, the Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, Angel Heart. I even heard
one of my favorites
in there. Yeah, well, same. So you don't have to pay anything for copyright. No. I'm surprised.
No, because they're in quotations. Woody Allen was sued during Midnight in Paris by, I can't remember which author. It wasn't the Fitzgerald. It might have been, or maybe William Faulkner's for taking some quotes from that film and using them. But I mean, Tarantino would be broke if we were all being sued for stealing dialogue and quotes.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, I was just wondering how it worked. Yeah, didn't realize.
No, we were told it because it's actual quotations. It's okay.
And it was Oblo vision as well. That's something.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah, that's my crazy banner. I'm just putting all my stuff under my. I don't know, because it's like, you need a brand in this world, especially with films. I saw Nicholas Refn was doing it on. And obviously I'm no Nicholas Refn, but he has NWR imprinted on all his new movies. So I was like, I'm gonna put my little authorship at the end.
Yeah, I picked up on it straight away. I love it.
That's amazing.
You rounded up a pretty good cast. So, I mean, and you said you called them. There wasn't too much going on there when it came to casting. Terrence and John, we mentioned John Savage, Terrence Howard. I'm talking about Dolph, Piper, Clemmie, and everyone else. I mean, you even got some of the crew involved. So, how did you just pick along the way who was going to play with who, or was it all set out from script to screen?
Some of them I'd worked with before, like John Sklarov, Mike Ferguson, and then Terrence, my producer Christian, had a prior relationship with his manager Mira Howard, one of our producers now. So he just called her and sent her it. It was very like family oriented, because we knew that was the only way to get a film like this done, or you end up just paying so much that the film can't be made properly. Not that, everyone did it because they thought there was something cool to do here. And then with the crew, it was just kind of like, who's next? Who's like, come on, batter up.
That was great. I loved it. Now you acknowledged them at the end too, quite a few of them, which was terrific. Amanda, we haven't spoken about either. She reminded me of Lucy Liu in Kill Bill.
Lucy Liu we did go to at one point, but we couldn't get any interest from her. And then Amanda kind of came on. I had a prior relationship with her and mainly her agent, and she was great. I mean, she came on real last minute and just she maybe had we shot all her stuff in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it was the last 2 days of filming, and it was just like a complete, kind of machine of working.
Yeah.
And she was just came and killed it.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly shows again. You've put together a really good movie, mate. Concise, fun. Everything that you wanted to happen obviously happened. What's next for you? You working on some more stuff? You're just waiting till this gets released around the world?
No, I got some scripts that I have. I'm trying to, I don't know, I've always I'm writing some stuff that's a little different. Got a few projects that are out there, but I think I'm going to try to do something that's almost the opposite of this movie. I'm writing this kind of haunted frontier film that takes place in the Central Coast of California in the late 1800s. So, but I mean, it still has, it's a very kind of hyper violent movie. It's kind of like the Northman of, California. So that's kind of where my head's been recently. But nothing that's, 100% happening. So
there was an old black and white, very early John Wayne movie called Haunted Gold. And that is about a frontier haunting. So
I will watch that literally tonight then.
You should check it out.
I've just been eating them up, dude. I've just been I watch McKay, Miss Mill. I mean, I watched Jeremiah Johnson again yesterday, which is a good film, but I don't love it. I have to say, I want to love it, but I don't love it as much as maybe some of the other kind of westerns of that time. But so I will watch that John Wayne film.
I'll send you an email with a couple of suggestions for you.
Oh, please do, because I'm kind of that's what I do. I just get obsessive, and I'll put on 4 or 5 movies a day in the background while I'm writing to just I don't know, everything kind of sparks something.
A couple more questions before we wrap up. Director's chairs. Do you have a director's chair with your name on it?
No, I
Okay.
don't sit at a chair when I stand by the camera.
Okay.
I
So
I
you're on.
never I never stand because like I don't want to waste the time walking from the monitor to the camera.
Hmm.
So like I just like being right up front, and I don't really have a lot of crew on set either. I kind of throat kick everyone off for the most part, and we just kind of hang out.
Well, that's all right. So you call yourself an agile director. You're in everything.
Yeah, yeah, I have to be because like especially on lower budget films, you just if the ball drops, it's your fault. So like I'm just trying to kind of keep all the balls in the air because there's so many problems awaiting you all the
Yeah.
time.
Claude Luke Halliday. Now, was that character named after anyone in particular, or was it an algorithm of other names?
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Luc Besson, the
Yep.
director, and Johnny Halliday.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't get Luke Besson. I got the other two. Well, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
Wow.
Luc Besson because I really liked when I was younger. I loved all the Cinema du Luc films like La Femme Nikita, Subway, and then and I was kind of like watching those a lot when I was writing this. That kind of like eye candy. Not everything makes sense, but it
Mm,
somehow tonally all comes together. You know, so.
mm. And your costume designer. Kudos and congratulations to her. Uh, Everyone was in some immaculate, really cool clothes, and on a budget, they were impressive.
Coco's amazing. This is our second film together and I've hired her on things I produce. She's awesome. She just works on such a I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Like a lot of the mystique of low budget filmmaking, and that's what like she did and Doc, the producer and our stunt choreographer, is it doesn't have to look good in person. It just has to look right on camera.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's kind of like the trick.
oh, of course, it's to convince the viewer and entertain the viewer and dazzle the viewers. Those costumes were great. They were standout from the start, and the hats and everything else was great. Really
That's
good.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, that's great because they killed it. Some of it's Terrence's own clothes. Like he brought in tons of clothes, and they were just digging through them and having fun and everything. So
And final word from you, the writer director of Showdown at the Grand. Why should people watch your movie? What do you think they'll get out of it? Now, you've been sort of selling yourself down a bit, saying it'll probably get a bigger audience down the track. But right now, on digital or on physical media, why should people watch your movie?
because it's a film about protecting the sacred spaces that we're losing rapidly. And I think it's important that we honor those places and take the time to reflect on them. And we need central points of society, and it's a fun ride within all of that, but it's kind of like to me it's the it's the anti-elitist movie. It's a film with a barrier of entry where yes there's tons of film codes, but that's also I hope people watch it, enjoy it, go at the end, look up some old movies or talk about it, and kind of show the joy of kind of being a nerd and loving something.
Yeah, doing what you love, it shows on screen, and your partner, Clemmie Dugdale, as Cyberella. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, yeah. She actually like when I because I had written the script before I met her, and then when I did it, she was like, better have a good part for me. So we wrote it for Locomotive and Cyberella, and people like really respond to that. It's kind of annoying. They'll like watch the whole movie and they'll be like, oh, that girl, she's so good. And I'm like, do you watch the whole rest of the film? But no, she's amazing. And the biggest positive response to the film is that everyone just wants more of the movies within the movies. So I owe a lot of that to her.
Will any of the those movies within the movies be on maybe the Blu-ray, like in their own little short versions, or
I
anything
mean,
you can do?
I don't not that I know of. No, I mean, I wish
Yeah,
they
okay.
asked for that, but that would be awesome. And I'd like to like take some like I'd love to do like a necropolis or something where
Yes,
the full on desert crazy, let's go like make, chop some cars in half and
yes.
I think we could use some more of those right now.
Well, New York 2025, that's not that far away. That's when it was set, right?
Well, that's kind of the joke. That film was actually, it was as much a reference of Mad Max as Neon City, the
Yeah,
movie
right.
with Michael Ironside. And like
Yeah,
that was kind of the joke in the film was like when you watched all those movies from the early 90s, it was always like, Los Angeles 2030, and it was a, underwater or something. The near future was, we're in the near future now, right? We're past Blade Runner, and it ain't
yeah,
anything like it. But that's kind of the fun of it, I think.
yeah. We're past Class of 1984. We're past Escape from New York. They're two of my favorites.
Dude, Class of 1984 is an amazing movie. I was watching it a lot actually when I made this, and Escape from New York is that's I got an Escape from New York poster right over here. I'm going to find a frame for, the French one. Like that movie is just the best. And when I found out that he had put glow in the dark tape to
Yes.
make the opening computer sequence, I was like, that's all you need to know about filmmaking. If
Yep.
film schools only taught you that, you would have a generation of filmmakers that were so inventive.
Yep. Yeah, no, incredible what he did. And those punks in your movie reminded me of Class of 1984. That's why I brought it up.
I think I brought that up to the costume designer and showed them Class of '84. I mean, I love that, and which was 1999 was the sequel.
99. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're all amazing. And I remember seeing it when I was a little kid, and like the teacher ripping off the kids, like all the kind of like robot violence, and it stuck with me forever.
Well, this discussion could go on. I feel like I've taken enough of your time up, Orson. Thank you so much, man, and I hope we cross paths at some point.
Me too. Thank you so much. Yeah, I could talk all day. This is with each other. This is so up my alley. So thank you. And yeah, and let me know